Hey, so Trump just spoke a little while ago here in New York where he unveiled his economic plan, where he said it's a plan that would cause the economy to grow greater than 4% annually. So the plan incorporates, or I guess the centerpiece of the plan is a $4 trillion tax cut. That's what he says. However, he doesn't say where it comes from. He says he's lowering the number of tax brackets, he's cutting the tax rate, okay, and then he's going to reduce the number of tax brackets from 7 to 3. I think there were 33%, 25%, and 15%. So he's got the right idea. It's a fiscal stimulus. However, let me just say this. And this is a thing that also, sorry, within that plan, there is, of course, what the Republicans always talk about, which is a reduction in the corporate tax rate from 35% to 15%. And let me just go over some of this because, like the corporate tax thing, that's just gimmicky, all right? So here's what Trump did not specify, and you never really hear this being said when tax cuts are proposed. The vast majority of taxes that the federal government collects comes from payroll taxes. That's the stuff we track, employment and withholding taxes. That's FICA and Social Security that's taken out of people's paychecks. That's 2.2 trillion of the 2.8 trillion that the government collects. So over 80%. All right. Corporate taxes are 325 billion. It's nothing. It's 13% of all taxes collected by the government. So fiddling with the corporate tax rate, which let's face it, most corporations don't pay the full rate of 35%. And the total amount of corporate taxes collected by the government, it's only 13% of all taxes. Working people pay the vast majority of taxes through payroll taxes. So unless you cut the payroll tax, well, I don't know where this 4 trillion is coming from. I mean, a tax cut, yes, it will help the economy. A tax cut is fiscally the same thing as a spending increase. But who gets those savings? Rich people, upper middle class people. Does most of it go into savings, which is a leakage to demand? I don't know. Really, the best. And he started out. I didn't hear anything about the rebuilding of infrastructure and stuff like that. I mean, it's great to have tax cuts, but the people who really need the money to spend, who spend every dime of what they get, those are people in the middle at the bottom. All right. So it really has to be directed at them. And the simplest, easiest way to do this whole thing is just a payroll tax cut or a suspension of the payroll tax. All right. Which you never hear anything about that because then there's all say, well, how are we going to pay for Social Security? First of all that money that is taken out for Social Security, that just goes into the Treasury's general account and it's spent every day and every year on ordinary spending items. And then the Treasury just the Treasury just writes an IOU to the Social Security Trust Fund, which is an IOU it can always satisfy just by pushing a key on a keyboard, all right? It's electrons. So, I mean, he's kind of got the right idea. I would have liked to see some big, massive 3 trillion spending project, public works spending, infrastructure, education, healthcare, alternative transportation, mass transportation, alternative energy, that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, tax cut, it's not going to be a negative. It just, we have to see, where it's coming from. The easiest way to do this, and no politician ever says it. Remember, Obama did it for a year and a half, the payroll tax reduction. It was a tiny little reduction, something like 2 or 3%, and it did help. But then he turned right back around and raised it back up again. So when Obama said he never raised taxes on the middle class, it's wrong. He did. when he raised that payroll tax back up again. That's the easiest way to do it. So Trump, if you're listening, you got to suspend the payroll tax or at least cut it. That's the easiest way to put money right into the hands of the folks that really need it, who are going to go out and spend it. Otherwise, just do a massive public works spending project. But anyway, it's all moot because he has to get elected first, right? And even when he's elected, then all that stuff has to get passed by Congress. So we'll have to see. But the good news is, and it's what I always tell you, they tell us what they're going to do, and then they vote on it, and then we know, and then we see the numbers every single day. So it's not like it's going to be a mystery. We will know, and we will know how to act on whatever it is they pass. No problem. No problem whatsoever. Bye.